celebrating the power of possibility.
Hey everybody, this is Leanne Morgan, and I believe that anything is possible.
This is Anything is Possible. My possibility superstar is, and this is one of the things I love, I get to call you friend. My friend Leanne Morgan, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, my darling Hallerin.
So let me say,
angel.
Let me say a few things. One, I love you. I really do. Chuck,
I love you.
I mean, it's a general agape type of. I love you.
I love you.
I believe in you. I'm watching this new Netflix special and I was just proud of you. I want to start at the very end. I have never seen this in the entirety of the history of every comedy special that I've ever seen, from Richard Pryor all the way through Leanne Morgan. I have never seen a comedian bring their family onto the stage at the end of the comedy special.
I'm gonna bring out my family.
The reason I know that was intentional because the top line in the special has written and performed by Leanne Morgan, executive producer Leanne Morgan, and you brought your entire family on the stage.
Did you see my baby? Did you see my grandbaby Charles Wilbur?
I saw the whole, you brought the entire, why'd you do that, Leanne?
I just, they're, everything to me, and I talk about them, they're my act, they're my life. They've always been involved in everything. I just thought that was the natural thing to do, and I wanted people to see them. And I know that my fans love all of them and want to see them and what they're doing and want to hear about them. They do. I've got the best fans in the world.
Do you realize the statement that makes? Like, I'm almost tearful about that. To the whole world, the family's important.
You angel, thank you for telling me that.
Thank you for doing that. That was powerful. All right, so
thank you,
I'm not
Hallerin.
crying in front of Leanne Morgan. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that.
know.
But I just thought that was such a powerful exclamation point about who you are and what you believe. But now I want to get into the nitty gritty. You and I were having a conversation. This is 10, 12 years ago. And you were like, I don't know if any of this is going to happen. You remember this conversation?
We've had so many. Was I in a low point?
Yep. There was a pilot idea, and then it went away, and people were making you promises, and people weren't following through, and it wasn't. And you were like, I don't know if this is going to happen, but I just got to keep going. And I remember in the midst of that transition, and I'm sure you've been through a lot of them, you made a decision not to quit.
Well, yes, I had television deals, maybe 2 by then. And let me say that in 22 years of doing comedy, because God would give me these things, even if they didn't make it, it was like, Leanne, just wait, just hold on. I've got something for you. And he would give me these. I would be in Hollywood. I was in the game, but I was a mama in Knoxville, Tennessee. So there would be times when I would think, am I one of these kids on American Idol that thinks they can sing? You know, I would go through that and I'd think, maybe I'm a nut, and I don't know, maybe I'm not. But then God would give me, a television deal with Matt Williams that created Roseanne and Home Improvement. And I would think, okay, I know I've got something. I got to keep going. And that after that second deal, there was a long stretch in there where I could barely get arrested.
I remember this.
And my money Never went up. Like I could only ask for a small amount of money. They would say, we're going to take your travel out of it. You know, I could never make that jump. There were times I could not get booked. My manager at the time would beg people to book me and beg people. Even like little agents that are not even big agents, but like that do things for little corporate things. And they were like, meh, meh, meh. It was not going anywhere in 2018. And I remember with my husband, Chuck Morgan, out to eat, and I started crying, and I said, I think that I need to like open maybe if I opened a hardware store in Knoxville and people could come and I could have a big cheese wheel, like an old-timey hardware store, and I could sell baby shoes and canning things, and I could dazzle, and people would want to come and visit. I said, and he goes, Leanne, you've lost your mind. And I go, this isn't going anywhere. Like, that was a low time. I've always believed in myself, and I knew from the time I was a child, this is what I was supposed to be doing. But that was a low time. And I think my children had left, everybody had left, and graduated, and it just wasn't going anywhere. And I said I had kind of a crisis that moment. And then I don't know why I kept going.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel.
You made a decision not to quit.
And I tell you, my manager at the time said, Leanne, there's this company in Salt Lake City, Dry Bar. Nobody's ever heard of it. It's a clean comedy platform. Nobody's ever heard of it. I remember him saying these words to me, nobody will ever see it. But they want you to do a special. They'll pay you a couple of $1,000s. They'll give you a hotel room. You're going to be in Dubuque, Iowa, doing the Chamber of Commerce luncheon. That's how bad my career was going. I was doing the Chamber of Commerce luncheon in Dubuque, which, let me say, there's some of the prettiest people in Dubuque, Iowa. I don't know who those people are. They're beautiful. But they didn't even hire me to do the nighttime thing. I was the luncheon. I barely got enough money to get out there on a tiny plane with propellers and like where I thought I was going to go down. But, and he said, why don't you just scoot on out to Salt Lake City and do that, and we'll get clips. If anything, we'll get clips for you to get more Dubuque of Iowa luncheons. I'm not kidding, that's what he said to me. He had hit a wall, he didn't know what to do, and I was like, okay. And I went out there and did that Dry Bar thinking, this is nothing. But that I don't know, it's gotten like 50 million views. And that really didn't translate into ticket sales. Like, I still couldn't get booked in clubs. They would book me in a club, but they would say, we love her. She doesn't get drunk and fight in the parking lot, but she can't sell tickets. That's what they'd say. We love her, she's sweet, love her, can't sell tickets. And then, so the Dry Bar thing, I was getting all these views and fans and stuff, but it wasn't translating into ticket sales and all that.
Yeah.
And then I said to my manager at the time, when I say that because I'm no longer with him, because I said to him, all the people that I admire, all the people that I love to watch and that I'm a fan of have got social media people. And that's the new thing. And I think I should hire these people to do my social media. And he was like, you can't afford that and you don't need to do that. And I went against him. And it was a lot of money, but I invested in myself. And Hallerin, I've done comedy for 22 years, but I was a mama first. And every dime I made, I bought uniforms with it. I got everybody's hair cut. I never invested in a website for myself. I had like 2 headshots in 20-something years because it was just, I don't know, that wasn't good business on my part, but I just put everything into my children. That was what I did. And then at this point, in 2019, I thought, I'm going to hire these and I'm going to give it 3 months. I'm going to give these young boys, 3 months. And if it doesn't happen after that, I'll bow out of comedy. I knew I was going to have a grandbaby. Charlie got married right out of college. I knew they were going to have a bunch of babies. And I'm from the country. I wanted to be a meemaw. And I thought, I'll go to work at Target. I'm not kidding. I thought, I'll go to work at Target and I'll put bedding up in the back on those things. That looks fun. I really did. I thought, I'll just bow out of this.
You were about to tap out.
Yeah, I thought, I'm going to give it this. And then, because I had worked, my manager got me in some clubs. I couldn't sell tickets. I could tell they were like, oh, she's one of those dry bar comics. Like I was really not a legit comic. And you know, over the years, like Comedy Central wouldn't have anything to do with me, you know. I would get no's from all of them. And so I thought, maybe I'm not legit. I mean, maybe this is it. This is the end of the road. And they put out one video about me taking Chuck Morgan to go see Def Leppard and Journey at Thompson Bowling Arena. And I talked about how, and I had filmed that. I had never done that bit before. I did it one time in Chattanooga. Somebody got it on film. Those boys put it out. And I've talked about old people at concerts and how everybody had plantar fasciitis and was worried about the snack bar. And everybody there is our age. And every once in a while, somebody would stand up and then they'd sit back down. And it went viral. And it was like a fire. Somebody lit a fire, and I could feel it. I could feel it in my, like a wave go through my body. I knew what was happening. I was in New York City. We were moving my baby into school she went to school for makeup for television and film. We were in a tiny hotel room, and I said, I think something is happening. And Chuck said, the Uber's here. Get the luggage and let's get out. You know, everybody was worried about moving her in her apartment. And but in my heart, I thought, oh my gosh, something is happening. And I could feel it, physically feel it. Does that make sense? I physically felt something. I thought, oh my gosh, I knew it. I saw people, thousands of people sharing. Well, people saw that and started looking at everything else that I had online that liked that. And then my manager called and said, they want to book you back in Orlando. They want to book you in Tampa. They want you to come to Chicago. And I started selling out all over the United States. It happened I'm not kidding, in 2 to 3 weeks, my life changed. Is that not the craziest thing? It's so much more special and wonderful than anything I ever thought it was going to be.
The reason I'm sitting here and just absorbing what you're saying, and hopefully not stepping on what you're saying, is because I saw it happen. And I'm so proud of you for not quitting.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
For not giving up, for believing in the possibility. So it starts to happen. 100-city tour?
Yes. So I was selling out all over the United States in comedy clubs. One-nighters, and then and people were lined up. And these comedy club people were like, where have you been? Your audience is the best audience we've ever seen. They're not rowdy. We don't have to calm anybody down. They're not fighting. It would be, and this is what was special, it would be a grandmama, like an 80-year-old woman who's never been to a comedy club. Her daughter, 50, and then her daughter, like 25. And they said, we've never seen this before. And I would see these little elderly people sitting in the front row with a little brooch on, coming to a comedy club. and I'd think, I can't even believe this. And I really messed with my head, and I thought, I need to go home with every one of them and clean their house and make them a casserole. I really did, and put in a load of wash, because they're coming out and doing this for me. Because it had been years, you know, where I could not, comedy clubs, I worked comedy clubs, like 5 or 6 a year would book me, but most of them were like, you know, I didn't come up in them, so they didn't want me. So anyway, that was all crazy. And then my agent called me. Somebody begged, my manager begged somebody to take me as an agent. I was selling out all over the United States, and they still didn't want me. And I don't know if it's because I was a 50-something-year-old woman from Tennessee. I don't know what it was, but they had to beg a guy, like a favor, can you take her as her agent? And so he took me, sweet young guy, and they call me and they go, Outback Concerts out of Nashville, Tennessee, which I've known Mike Smartack and Brian Dorfman for 20 years. I've always wanted to be in business with them. They did the Blue Collar Tour, and they do all the comedians that you've ever loved. Called me and they said, we want to give you a 50-city tour. put it on sale, sold out. They said, we're gonna give you another 50. So that was the 100 city tour, and I named it the Big Panty Tour.
That's one of the funniest moments in this special where you talk about the big panties. You said, I like them to come up over my stomach.
I do. I really do. And I remember I went to Nashville. We were sitting around a big table, and all those men and women that work at Outback Concerts, who are the best of the best, said, "What do you want to name it?" And I said, "I think I want to name it the Big Panty Tour. I've been talking about my panties a lot, and I've got my panties on my mind. And I think about all through the years, my act, has been based on my life." And I think, I went through maternity panties, tiny panties in the 80s when I was in sin, birthing, big panties. Then, then trying to get my weight off, went to Weight Watchers, tinier panties, And I just thought, this feels right to me. And they were like, we love it, Leanne, let's do it. And so I had the Big Panty Tour, had a ball. 18 months it took to get through those cities.
So let me ask you this, because I think about the business. There's so much I want to ask you. So did you guys merch panties on the tour?
We thought about it, and at the time, I had a merchandise company that said that they said it's just beyond our capacity, we can't do it. But I thought about it. But through the Netflix, I signed a deal with Vanity Fair Lingerie, and I'm selling their panties, and and let me tell you how precious this is. They're in partnership with me because this new tour is called the Just Getting Started Tour, because I feel like I'm just getting started at 57 and a grandmama, and they love the fact that I didn't quit. I persevered. That a woman in her 50s, her life is not over, that anything is possible, to keep going. And if you have a dream, to keep dreaming and doing that. So they're going to give money. I think they're going to do it with 6 women. They're going to give them seed money to start whatever they want to start in midlife. Isn't that sweet? And we're going to do it at my shows. We're going to they were going to take applications, and they're going to give women the opportunity to, if they want to go back to school, if they want to start a business, whatever.
Once again, I go back to these conversations that we had. I don't know if you remember, I would talk to you about, okay, you can have this partnership and this merch deal and this sponsorship and this, and I'm watching all this stuff kind of play out, and I'm so proud of you. Now I want to do a deeper dive into your content. What I thought was genius was you took us on a tour of your family. Like, the arc of your special is family. And you touched every point of your family. Your little daddy, your mother, Chuck, every one of your daughters, your son, your grandbaby. You literally wove an arc that touched every one of your family members, and then you brought them all on stage, which I thought was genius. Was that the design? Because here's the thing that I wanted to say to you, to your face, and this may make you take to the bed, as you say. I'm not buying the "aw shucks, I don't know what I'm doing" thing. I think you are a genius comedy mind and a genius storyteller. I don't buy it. I don't buy, it just I see too much design. Am I wrong about that?
Oh, you angel. Well, I didn't.
Just tell the truth.
I didn't get a high score on my ACT. I'll just tell you that. And I'm so worried that's going to be uncovered.
Just tell me the truth.
But I do. I guess I do. Now that I've been doing this 22 years, I guess you're right. I do.
Did I read the thread properly?
I do a thread. Yes, I do. And if you go back in all my material, the few times I was filmed over the years, I always talk about every child, about their daddy. So I do. Like when I wrote this new hour, I've got a whole new hour now for Just Getting Started Tour. there is a theme. There is a, there's a way that I do it.
There's a structure. You have a thing.
And through this tour, this new 100 cities, I'll add, I'll subtract things something will pop that I'll think, oh, that's so much funnier, and I'll leave out this part that's not getting enough, response. So yeah, it'll take me a while to perfect it, and I'll never say perfect it. It won't be perfect, but I'll do that. But I worked on that hour. It scared me to death because they said once this Netflix special airs,
Yeah, it's going to be.
you cannot say any of that. You got to do a whole new hour.
Right.
Because the dry bar thing, which I couldn't do any of that either, but this scared me to death. And they said, we're going to put you in LA and Southern California in clubs all around, because if it can work in California, it's going to boom out in the middle of the country. So they put me in all these cities, and I was in 8 hotels in 4 weeks, and it scared me to death. And I thought, how am I going to come up with a new hour? I've been doing this for 18 months, and my children, it's my life, and now what am I going to, and then, but I worked it out in clubs, and now, I've got it. I've got the hour, but I'll
Now
tweak
it's
it.
time to fine tune it. All right, in part 2 of this interview, I want to talk to you about comedy, but I want to talk to you about this Netflix deal, because we haven't talked about that yet.
Okay.
My guest is Leanne Morgan. I'm not buying it, by the way. I don't want to blow your cover, but I'm not buying it. She's a genius comedian, great friend. My guest on Anything Is Possible.